farthest place from you, not physically, but politically. That place, that town or city where you know no one will agree with you. And now ask yourself this: would you pack a bag and live there for 2 whole months? Well, that is exactly what my next guest did. Iris Zaki, a documentary filmmaker, here in studio to talk about her latest project, Unsettling, in which she, a self-proclaimed left-winger, decided to go live in the farthest place from her, a West Bank settlement, and document her encounters there. Iris, thanks for coming on the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
So, you chose a settlement called Tekoa. Tell us a bit more about Tekoa, because our viewers know there are many types of settlements that are more religious, more secular, more radical, wealthy, poor. Where does Tekoa fit in there, and why did you choose that one?
So Tekoa is a combination of secular and religious Jews, settlers. It's also a combination of hippie and bourgeois. So you can have both the villas and, you know, the more
laid back kind of guys, little.
Which surprised me, I have to say. I didn't know that, you know, this aspect exists. It has a mixture of like artists and a lot of different people. I think that there's something spiritual going on there. Rabbi Fruman was a leader. He was the rabbi of the settlement.
Considered a more moderate kind of figure in the settlements, right? Yeah. Well, how did those people in the settlement receive you when you just came there with your bags, as we saw in the movie, by the way?
Yeah. So the first time I went there for research, everyone was so nice, and I was like, there's something magical in the air, and I was so excited about it. And then when I moved there, I rented an apartment. It started to be more... some people really were so nice to me, but some people were scared of me coming there to make a film.
Right, to make them look bad, maybe. Is that what they were fearing?
That was their feeling and their fear, and I could totally relate to that, because as a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker, I did a PhD about ethnographic filmmaking, and representation of a community is something very sensitive, and I think that a lot of films about the settlers tend to saturate the more extreme. And these people really here in the movie that you showed are just totally, well, you have a little of both, I think. And you know what, we're going to start. I want to show our viewers just a snippet of a young woman who really isn't shy of her views, and we'll take a look at it now.
This country has become nationalist, religious, and even fascist from how I see it, and that's sad.
Yes, I can admit that there is something fascist about me. I'm not hiding it. I don't believe that there's any other way.
Do you care that the world hates you? Does that bother you?
No, of course not. And I don't care that people in Tel Aviv will know that I'm a settler and treat me with contempt. I'm not bothered, really.
So, you know, what goes through your head when you hear someone say that, just, you know, out in the open like that? You know what? I'm a fascist.
Yeah, it was like a great moment, because Moria, and I love Moria. I think she's a great character. She's actually the granddaughter of Levinger.
One of the more radical rabbis from the Hebron area, Kiryat Arba area, yes.
Exactly.
Moshe Levinger.
Yeah, Moshe Levinger. She grew up in Hebron, and I think that it's also something that I wanted to show, how much the place that we grew up in designs us as grown-ups, and you can see the difference between her and people who grew up in Tekoa in my film. And
they're just more moderate. They're just not as radical, right?
Exactly. They wouldn't say like these strong statements about the Palestinians, because the relationship between Tekoa and Palestinians is a bit more...
well, it's different.
It's different.
You know, you brought up the issue about how in the beginning there was mistrust, you know, from the settlers about you. Did it go both ways? Did you ever feel... Was there inside you maybe about, you know, a little mistrust of them?
Yeah, I think that, like... Look, when I'm coming to a community, that I need them to accept me. I'm in a position that I need to be accepted by people. So I cannot be as, you know, outspoken. I don't give a as I am.
As you're right.
Usually.
It's not totally natural. It's a little...
Yeah, because, and I respected this fear from cameras. I think that the relationship between cameras and settlers, you know, it's very specific, and I can see why they are a bit fed up with, you know, the media coming to show them in a specific way. I try to really explain to people that it's totally not my goal, that I really want to get to know people and to show them in a more complex way.
And let's show a really complex person, and her name is Michal. She's a young mom, and you know what? This woman had me, my jaw basically dropped to the floor. I think she gives a lot of people a lot of hope. Let's hear what she had to say.
And we should think, what's the lesson? Whether it's to respect the foreigner living among us or understanding that this land belongs to God. And we must renounce the sense of entitlement. We must get over the fear and be brave and take responsibility for this situation, a genuine one. And I believe no one is to blame. The people of Israel have only the land of Israel. History brought the Palestinians here, and they're here. No one is to blame. This is the reality. Let's do the best that we can.
Now, the reason I chose this clip and why I think she brings so much hope is because this woman was attacked.
Right.
She was stabbed by a Palestinian. She almost died, and that's how she's talking. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
It is, and...
Were you surprised to hear that kind of...
I was. I knew that she's related to the Furman family, so she has to be more...
a little more moderate.
Yeah, and, you know, more progressive in that sense. But how can you even imagine how someone who was stabbed twice while she was pregnant... And her baby was there in the interview, and when she told me that he stabbed her, the baby started crying, and I was like, that's very...
Wow.
Wow. But she's amazing, she's very brave, you know, she tries to really inspire people to go and, you know, do what she does, meet Palestinians. It's a great movement. You know, they're kind of like tired of the politicians who don't do anything, and they prefer to just try doing it themselves.
Any feedback from the settlers themselves? Have they watched the movie? The people, are you still in contact with some of these people?
I'm in contact with all the characters, some more, some less. They were very happy with it. A lot of settlers write me letters saying how much, you know, they appreciate their representation. Again, it's very political. People don't talk to me about my film anymore. If it was about love, you know, some people would, or about life, people would have different responses. Since it's very political, I get very political responses. I need to get used to it.
And speaking of politics, has it changed you, this adventure? Has it changed your political opinions as well, the way you think?
No. It was actually, I was very sad to live there and to be there. I didn't feel comfortable living in a settlement, even though, you know, you can say that Tel Aviv is a bubble and it's far from the eye, the occupation, but it wasn't, I wasn't comfortable, you know, driving the roads there, being a Jew there.
Were there any rays of light? I mean, did it give you any hope?
Yes, because I met really amazing people in the settlement. People that they can be my friends, people that I think don't like the situation as it is and want to change it. And I think that they are the future, people my generation. Is that
basically the problem, that we don't get really to know the other side? Because that's what you did.
Exactly, and that's what I'm trying to do in my films. And that's why I prefer not to go to, like, the more, you know, black and white representations of communities, because I think that most people, if you get to know them, we can get along very well.
Right. Okay. So before we go, I mean, I'm really curious to know if you can tell us, I don't know, what your next project might be, what you might be working on? I
have a few.
Okay.
One in the States and one about my family in Egypt. I have a family in Egypt that I never met.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
It's a long story.
Okay, so we don't have enough time for that. Just tell us at least, before we go, where can our viewers catch Unsettling, especially, I don't know if they're abroad, can they see it somehow online?
So it's still traveling, different festivals in the States. I believe that it will be in quite a few Jewish film festivals. So if, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, and...
We'll have to keep an eye out for our international viewers. Iris Zaki,